Hello there again, YouTubers, and here is the Great Scott again with some opinions about. I did an honest opinion about the show Cobra Kai, and one of the reasons why I did that was not only because I wanted to get my opinion out there about the show, which I think is very good, but I also wanted to get my opinion out there about a lot of the speculation that's going on about Season 2 that was greenlit only a couple days after the first season was launched. Like a lot of people who watch the show, I'm very happy that they are doing Season 2, and I'm very happy that they have confirmed that Martin Kove is back as Kreese for Season 2. However, there's a lot of fan theories going around and a lot of other things that I'd like to talk about here. For one thing that you don't want to do with Cobra Kai is make it too much of a Karate Kid reunion movie. And what I mean by that is, there are certain people that you can bring back, but it also becomes overkill if you bring back somebody who doesn't make sense just for the purposes of bringing them back. Now, having said that, I think that there are people you could bring back and people you couldn't bring back, and I'm going to go through that here. But one thing that I wanted to address right off the bat is there was somebody who put a I don't know who it was, but I heard one comment about Kreese's return for Season 2 that I really hope this user is wrong about, because if this is the way they're bringing back Kreese, then I'm just going to shake my head and roll my eyes. I'm sorry. Martin Kove was interviewed shortly after Season 2 was announced, and he said that he was going to be back as a regular, and they have since confirmed that in an article. Now, here's the one theory that I heard somebody say. In the interview, Martin Kove says, "Now I come in as Lucifer at the end." Now, I think he meant that is, I just come in as the main bad guy for Season 2. Somebody read that as, well, Johnny said that Kreese was dead, so Johnny was probably hallucinating, and Kreese wasn't really there. So Martin Kove is probably going to be in Season 2 as like a manifestation, like a devil talking on Johnny's shoulder throughout Season 2, and only Johnny is going to have any scenes with him. Kind of like Harry with Dexter in the show Dexter, if you've ever watched that. I really hope they don't do this. I really hope that it comes down to, from everything that I've heard the creators of the show say and Martin Kove say in interviews, it doesn't sound like they're going in that direction. Like, one thing that both Martin Kove and some of the creators said is that they wanted to go more three-dimensional with Kreese than he was in the movies. You know, kind of like they've turned Johnny into a more three-dimensional character and not just made him a straight-up bad guy. It's kind of hard to do that if he's just a hallucination of Johnny's. So I'm really hoping they don't go in that direction, okay? And I said in my other video that I think that the fact that they're bringing back Martin Kove is great because he's known Ralph Macchio and William Zabka for years since they wrapped the first movie, and they do autograph appearances together all the time. So they see each other, they're friends, so why would you not want to use them? Also, I think the dynamic of Johnny and Kreese being in the same place again is an interesting one to explore, because the last time they saw each other, I mean, Kreese tried to kill Johnny, for Pete's sake. So I don't think it's going to be one of these things. I mean, Johnny's coming in like he's trying to... John Kreese is coming in. It's hard because they have the same first name. Kreese comes in ready to congratulate Johnny, but I'm wondering about what his motives are going to be, and Johnny didn't really look happy to see him. So it'd be interesting to see what is going to happen there. Now, let's move on to something that YouTube videos have been made a lot about in the past couple weeks since Season 2 was announced, and that is the return of Mike Barnes. I've heard a lot of people who Sean Kanan, who played Mike Barnes in Karate Kid 3, who's now an actor on soap operas. I think he was just on Bold and the Beautiful and Young and the Restless. He was on Sunset Beach for a while as well. There's a video on Getty of him saying that he's going to do Season 2, that he loves the show, he loves the first season, and that he's going to do Season 2. And 2 days after this video was released, Season 2 was announced. At least I think it was somewhere like that. And the Cobra Kai symbol is all over his Twitter account, and he's posting that he's doing workouts twice a day to get in shape for it, and he's always hashtagging Cobra Kai in all of those tweets. And he's retweeting stuff about the show. And if you look on Internet Movie Database under the facts about... I won't pull it up here. If you look at it under the facts about the show or the trivia about the show, even before the first season premiered, there was a little trivia on Internet Movie Database that said Sean Kanan has expressed interest in reprising his role from Part 3. So ever since this broke, there's been a lot of YouTubers, a lot of who I've seen, who have said, should we take this at face value? Is he just trying to force their hand? What's going on here? Because they've never actually confirmed it. Well, here's the thing. They haven't denied it either. You see, I think if they were not going to use him, even though it's free publicity for the show, I think there would have been like some ramification for him saying that he seemed way too comfortable and way too confident on the video for him to be speculating or him trying to force his way in. Now, maybe he's just that brazen. I don't know. But if someone like this, first of all, Mike Barnes was a Cobra Kai. He wore the Cobra Kai dojo gi at the tournament in Karate Kid 3. So he's one person who would fit right in with this show because the show is called Cobra Kai. Okay? So he's still acting. He's still in good shape from what I could see. He's actually a martial artist. He was a Cobra Kai. The show's called the Cobra Kai, and he wants to do this thinking series. So in my opinion, the creators of the show would be fools if they didn't take him up on his offer. I mean, even if they didn't have plans for bringing back Mike Barnes, I'm sure that they would at least work out a one-episode appearance like they did for Daniel's mother for him or something. I'm not sure where it's going to go with him, but there's all kinds of speculation. Now, with that speculation comes speculation of, are they ever going to bring back Terry Silver? Because Terry Silver and Mike Barnes were both mentioned in the episode where Johnny gets Cobra Kai reinstated. And people have said, Terry Silver is the rightful owner of Cobra Kai, and some people have said, no, he's not. It's a franchise. Anybody could buy it. Terry Silver just owned that one particular location. He wanted to open up a bunch of other ones. Well, here's the thing. I don't think we are going to see Terry Silver. And there is a very simple reason for this. Fans can say they want Terry Silver back all they want. The problem is, first of all, the creators of the show already have a plan. I don't know what it is, but they already have a plan. And in order to get somebody back, you have to get the actor. I'm not sure about this, but has anybody who wants Terry Silver to come back read Thomas Ian Griffin's IMDb page in a while, or read his biography on Wikipedia? The guy hasn't acted since 2007. And the last movie he was in, he was also the writer of. And since then, he gave up acting and moved into just writing. In fact, he was actually doing very well for himself. He was one of the head writers of the show Grimm on NBC. Okay? So he kind of gave up acting for writing. So, in my opinion, it's going to be hard, unless he loves playing the character, or unless he's hurting for money now that Grimm is canceled. I'm thinking it would take some major arm twisting or some major big bucks to get him to come back to the role, unless he absolutely loves it and will want to do it. But again, you have the issue of, do you want to bring back too many people here? I mean, in my opinion, because this show is called Cobra Kai, anybody who was a Cobra Kai is fair game. They would fit right in with the series. Now, another example of this is Johnny's former goons from the first movie. Let me see if I can remember them all. Bobby, Tommy, Jimmy, and Dutch. Okay? Another example of people that William Zabka, Ralph Macchio, and Martin Cove are still in touch with. If you look back when they were doing the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, with the exception of the actor who plays Dutch, who is Steve McQueen's son, by the way. I forget his name. But with the exception of Dutch, all the former Cobra Kais, including Martin Cove, reunited for the Ice Bucket Challenge. 3 of them were also in the Sweep the Leg music video that William Zabka directed. So it's not like he doesn't have these guys' numbers. Now, to be fair, because they were smaller roles, I'm not sure you would bring back so let's say for the sake of this argument that the 3 other members of Cobra Kai, Tommy, Jimmy, and Bobby are the characters' names. I don't know the actors' names, I'm sorry. Let's say that they were game to reprise their roles in this show. The way that I would do it is, I'm not sure you'd give them a real major storyline. I think that you would, if the next season is going to go the way I think it's going to go, with maybe Kreese. If Kreese is now a regular, then obviously Johnny and him aren't going to kill each other in the first scene when we start next season. If this is going to go, assuming that it goes where I think it's going to go, which is Johnny letting Kreese back into the world of Cobra Kai with him, I'm thinking I would love to see like some kind of scene where Johnny's former teammates show up and kind of give him a slap upside the head and say, "What are you doing?" You know what I mean? We got away from this guy. Why are you letting him drag you back into it? Don't you remember this guy tried to kill you for crying out loud? You know what I mean? I would just like to see them like do an intervention scene or something like that. And it didn't have, it would maybe be a one episode thing, like I said, and then be done with it. Now, there is one thing that I think you absolutely positively cannot do. There's a lot of people with the speculation of Mike Barnes coming back. There have been a lot of people who have said, bring back Chosen from Karate Kid 2. No. I'm sorry. As much as I would like to see Mike Barnes come back, that's how much I don't want to see Chosen come back. Well, first of all, the guy was plain evil. I'm sorry. I don't like him. And secondly, here's what you have to consider. First of all, this is a show about Johnny. I mean, yes, it's a show about a rivalry between Johnny and Daniel, but the show is called Cobra Kai. It's more about Johnny. Johnny and Chosen have no idea each other exist. Chosen is over in Japan, Johnny's in California, and this show takes place in California. One of the reasons why I think it's going to be so easy to bring back people from Karate Kid 3 is because that movie took place in Los Angeles, and that movie had to do with Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai wasn't a factor in Karate Kid 2. They never even mentioned Cobra Kai. I mean, we see some of them at the beginning, but they never say Cobra Kai in the entire movie. See, both Next Karate Kid and Karate Kid 2 took place in other places of the world, so it's very easy to forget them. The problem is that Karate Kid 3, despite it being one of the least favorite of the series of a lot of fans, is the fact that it directly affects the events of this show because it has to do with Cobra Kai, the tournament. Now they're bringing back Martin Kove, and he was a key player in Part 3. So you open this show up to having to acknowledge Part 3. To an extent, I think that would be a good thing, because I never really liked the way Karate Kid 3 ended. When I heard they were making a fourth one, I thought maybe, even though Ralph Macchio wasn't going to be in it, I thought maybe we would get some insight into what happened after the events of Part 3. Because, I mean, you had Terry Silver, Mike Barnes, and Kreese. You had these three evil guys. I mean, some called them the Three Stooges, but who just wanted revenge against Daniel so badly, and then in the tournament they lose at the last second. You're telling me that after that loss, they just forgot about it and never came after Daniel or Mr. Miyagi again? I don't buy that. I'm sorry. There had to have been more to it after that. And maybe with Mike, and if you bring back even one of them, Mike Barnes or Kreese, which they're already bringing back, maybe we could get a little bit of maybe we could hear a little bit about what happened after the events of Part 3. That's one thing that I'm looking forward to right there. But getting back to Karate Kid 2, well, first of all, one character from Karate Kid 2 I know they're never going to bring back is Sato, Mr. Miyagi's old childhood friend, because the actor who played him is no longer with us, just like Pat Morita is no longer with us. Now, the actress who plays Kamiko is one of the few actors from the series of movies that has said she would reprise the role. Now, she currently has an acting gig. She plays the hospital administrator on The Good Doctor. I was floored when I found that out. I didn't even recognize her. Don't get me wrong, still looks good for her age, but I didn't recognize her. I had an idea about how you could bring back Komiko, okay? And it would be something like this. If you remember, Johnny and Daniel's rivalry all started because Johnny considers that Daniel took his girl. And one thing that we've seen throughout the Cobra Kai series is a whole bunch of coincidences or misunderstandings or people, like, for example, the minute that Johnny finds out that Daniel is training his son, he assumes it's more of Daniel getting in his face and pushes him. And it turns out it was Robbie who had instigated the whole thing. And so here's a thought that I had. And now maybe this is going too far. You guys can let me know. But we learn at the beginning of Part 3 that Komiko was offered a position with a dance company to realize her dream of being a dancer. Let's say we fast forward to present day. I think it's highly possible that Komiko did some traveling. Maybe she finally came to America. Maybe by then Daniel was in another relationship and they didn't work out, so they went their separate ways. But maybe she stayed in the United States. Maybe she maybe once she retired from dancing, she started to open up dance schools where she teaches it. And maybe through teaching a dance school, she would cross paths with Johnny, who runs the Cobra Kai. And then maybe they start to hit it off, because we haven't seen Johnny with a love interest yet. We've seen his ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or his baby mama or whatever you want to call her. And she was a real piece of work, let me tell you. But what if you kind of set up Komiko and Johnny starting to see each other, and then Daniel finds out about it, and he assumes that this is Johnny getting back at him, and it's not. You know what I mean? If you wanted to continue the rivalry between Daniel and Johnny, that would be one thing you could do. Now, as far as Chosen is concerned from Karate Kid 2, I said absolutely not him. Here's the reason why. He's got no idea Johnny exists, okay? I think it's highly possible, hear me out, that Chosen is in prison. Now, why do I say this? You're talking about Okinawa is part of Japan. The legal system in Japan is very strict. A lot of people don't know this. You get an automatic 10 days in jail for shoplifting in Japan. So at the end of Karate Kid 2, what does Chosen do? In a castle full of about 100 dang witnesses, he swings down, puts a knife to a woman's throat, says, "Don't come any closer or I kill her," makes Daniel cross the bridge, and then says, "Now we fight to death," in front of 100 people. That is tantamount to 2 counts of attempted murder. And he did it in front of a whole bunch of witnesses. You're telling me that nobody in that castle called the police. You're telling that nobody had him arrested. Okay? So there's a very good chance Chosen is still in prison. Okay? I think I would say leave Chosen be. The actor who plays Chosen still acts occasionally. He lives in Seattle, Washington. He's a restaurateur and an actor on the side. And he's even done some videos where he has put on the outfit again and stuff. But they've been like joke videos, kind of like some of the other ones that William Zabka and his fellow Cobra Kai did. I just think bringing him back would be a stretch. You'd have to have some reason to why he would come all the way from Japan, all the way over to Los Angeles 34 years later. I mean, if you wanted to, the only way that you could do it is I heard another YouTube blogger say that you could do like some flashback scenes where we see another one of Daniel's trips to Okinawa because he said he took more than one. So maybe, I think one of the things that would be the most unpredictable they could do is we see Chosen today and he's a changed man, kind of like his uncle was. Because we got to remember that Sato, he saw the error of his ways. I'm not sure that every single one of Daniel's past enemies could be flat out villains today. I mean, I think if they brought back any of the other Cobra Kai guys, they might be good guys today. Anyway, I just think bringing back Chosen is a stretch for the most part because he's got no connection to Johnny. And people have argued, well, Mike Barnes has no connection to Johnny. Yes, he does. John Kreese is his connection to Johnny because John Kreese knows both of those guys. The only person that, well, for starters, Chosen never even called Daniel by his name. He only ever said, "Your student disgraced me. I have been dishonored all because of him." He never even says who he is. I'm not even sure Chosen ever learned Daniel's name, to be honest with you. I think he just knew that he was a student of Miyagi's, and that was pretty much it. Anyway, so that's my opinion about what they could do for season 2. I'm almost at 20 minutes here. Wow, I've been rambling a long time. The creators of the show have also asked would they ever bring back Hilary Swank from the next Karate Kid, and they said nothing is off the table. They surmised that in this world, Julie and Daniel did eventually meet after the events of the next Karate Kid. If nothing else, they probably were both at Miyagi's funeral. Now, I don't know if you would want to have a reason for her to come from Boston. I think bringing back Hilary Swank would be as Julie would be less of a stretch than bringing back Chosen. Okay, because one is flying all the way around the world, one's flying just from the other side of the country. I mean, the truth is, now that we've seen Miyagi's house is still up, we know that Miyagi had a last will and testament in part 2 when he was going to fight Sato, and he said that Daniel would get his house. I'm wondering if that will was still effective when Miyagi actually died. We also know that Julie's grandma stayed at Miyagi's house for a while during the events of the next Karate Kid, who was Julie's guardian. So you could argue that maybe she liked LA so much she decided to stay there and maybe Julie joined her. So that, I think, is less of a stretch than, say, creating some reason for Sato or even Komiko to be over here. But like I said, if you do this too much, if you cram too many people from the 4 movies into this show, then the show becomes all about nostalgia. And the creators of the show said they wanted to do just enough, not too much. And if you want this thing to go past season 2, then you really need to save some of this. So any of these ideas that I've said here, if the writers are thinking of anything like this, my advice would be is we know Martin Kove is coming back next season as Kreese, and I'd say at this point it's a pretty sure bet we're going to see Sean Kanan as Mike Barnes. I would say those two for this next season are probably enough, with the exception, unless you wanted to do that one scene of the Cobra Kai staging an intervention, like I said, but I think that would be enough. I think that would be enough. And also, a lot of people say they want Allie back, but Elizabeth Shue, the only people, for the record, the only people from the films that have said anything about whether or not they would come back is the actress who plays Komako said she would do it if they asked her. Sean Kanan is practically begging them to bring him back, and it looks like they're going to. And Elizabeth Shue has said probably not, because she thinks that Allie should stay part of the past in this world. And to be honest with you, I agree with her. I know a lot of people want to see Allie come back, but I think one of the reasons why they said that she moved to Denver was because that was kind of their way of saying we're not going to do that. But that's just my opinion. So these are all ideas I have about season 2, and I'm looking forward to when it actually happens. And I'll be looking forward to seeing Martin Kove play Kreese. I hope he's not a ghost. And I'm looking forward to seeing Sean Kanan as Mike Barnes. I really hope it's not a false false lead. I'm hoping he's telling the truth. And that's my honest opinion about that.